What is your title? Like, what do you want it to be?
My title?
Yeah. How do you distill yourself? Actor, model, singer.
Triple threat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's funny because I was biking here and I was thinking I have 3 different careers.
Yeah.
So I didn't know which one you wanted me to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
I'll talk about all 3 of them.
Okay.
Which one do you like the best, and which one are you doing the most of?
Yeah.
Oh God. I went to school, went to USC for acting. Theoretically, I like that one the best and the most, but I actually get to do that one the least. Because unless you're taking classes, or unless you're actually booking, you only really get to act when you're auditioning.
Interesting.
And so it kind of, sometimes when people ask me what I do, I want to say I'm an actor, but then I hate the follow-up questions usually oh, what have you been in? And it was like, nothing. I've been in nothing. No, that's not true. I was in a movie last year. I had 4 lines. Officer Chan.
Oh.
Officer Chan.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's coming out later this year.
Really? What's it called?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, we made it.
Making progress.
The world is
right. It was called Something's Wrong with Rose. The lead character was Kevin Bacon's daughter, Sosie Bacon. But I think they just changed the name of it, so I don't know what the name of the movie is.
2 degrees of Kevin Bacon now.
Yeah, that's everyone's talking about that.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Where's it going to come out on?
Because it's a scary movie, I think it's going to come out in October.
Oh, horror movie.
It's a horror.
I love horror movies.
And I'm the officer that checks out on her house, and nothing was wrong with her house.
Do you get killed?
Yeah.
What?
Do you get murdered?
Oh, not me. No.
Oh, that's even more progress.
Yeah.
Minorities
I know,
not
right?
getting killed in the horror movie.
I'm the first one to get murdered. Scene 1.
Seen and alive. But the one I have a 9 to 5, 9 to 7. So I'm a project manager at an executive recruiting firm. I'm in the banking sector, so I always tell people, I help stray white men make millions of dollars. And it's very exciting.
Very noble work.
Yeah.
Self-saving the world.
Really, really hard. No, I got that job in November, and been working really hard. I love my boss. My team's really cool. And I think that's really what is the most important, right, when you have a corporate job. Because my last job, I was a receptionist at a law firm, and I really was trying to fight to have more responsibilities. I was doing a lot of D&I stuff. I was doing a lot of admin stuff, but I was severely underpaid for what I was doing, and I didn't really like my team that much. I hope they're not listening. I was working with my best friend, so that was really fun.
Yeah.
But, our boss wasn't really looking out for me and for my growth, so I was like, okay, I need to switch. Finally, I got a new job, and I actually can at least say that I can pay rent.
Yeah.
So that's my day to day, but technically I'm on a modeling visa, so I have to keep doing that quote unquote full time to really qualify to stay in the country, and my visa expires in March, and this is my second one, so I have to renew again. I have to either renew or get a green card, and that application is crazy, right? I think the visa renewal is $5,000 around, but to apply for the green card, it's 10.
Jeez.
And because I'm at this point in my career where it's I can probably apply for the green card. We don't know if I'll get approved, but so I kind of have to apply for both the visa renewal and the green card. So that's $15,000 out.
It's almost like they don't want people to come to this country.
Right.
If I didn't know better.
Right. And I think some talent, I think if you're sponsored by a company or whatever, they pay for you.
Yeah.
But I'm sponsored by my manager, which is my friend. So it's really coming out of my dad's pocket.
Interesting.
I don't have that money in my pocket.
Yeah.
I do, but I also no.
Yeah. So we got the corporate job that pays a lot of the bills, the steady stream of work, and then you have you're hustling to get these acting gigs, these singing gigs, modeling contracts. What does a week look like?
Man. I mean, the corporate job, it's just the grind. You kind of know how to. I think with remote work, it's much more manageable, right? You I can before COVID with my my last job, I really had to kind of figure out if I have an audition in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And my agents don't tell me. Let's separate it. For modeling, if it's a casting for a modeling thing, they usually tell you the day before, like, oh, you have a casting tomorrow.
Oh wow.
And so you have to figure out how you're going to go to some random part of the city. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes there's a line and it takes an hour and a half for you to like really finish taking 3 photos with strangers and you might not even get the fucking shoot. And then, sometimes I would pretend I'm going to the doctor's or I take a very long lunch. Wow. So that makes it much harder.
So you have to just straight up lie to your like day
Pretty
job?
much, dude. And like, I think right now with my remote job, like, because like it's really just me and my boss that really have calls. I'm not on client calls. I can kind of space it out better. I can just step out, and I just bring my laptop if I really need anything.
Do you have like a set of excuses that you have ready to go?
I-
Like, how many doctor's appointments can you use before they're like?
And that's the thing is I also have my weekly therapy like in the middle of my work week, so I actually still get paid. I'm not gonna put it on my weekends or whatever, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, sorry, I have therapy, or like I block it out.
It's like they moved me to 2 a week. I'm having a lot of
exactly. I was
trouble.
like, now I don't even make an excuse. I'm like, sorry, I stepped out. But so for that is fine. I think with acting, there are a lot more self tapes now. So you kind of just, I do it at home. I have a whole setup. I think some people prefer doing auditions in person. I think there is a sense of like urgency. You're more present with the reader, with the director. You get to meet the people when you do those kind of auditions. But now that with COVID and there's just more self-tape auditions at home, like I used to have a pretty janky setup, like a curtain and like shitty lighting. Now I got this like outdoor partition that I installed on my wall that basically you just pull out.
Whoa.
And it looks like a green screen.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Because I just realized like over time, I was like, hey, my curtain looks wrinkly. It just looks. What am I like? Right out of college? No, I'm 29. I'm turning 30. I should have a better setup. Really though. And like, if I want to book any, like even last year's movie that like I booked, I was like, oh, this is my first like big Hollywood production that I've booked, and why is that? I like to think it's because I had a better setup.
It just like looks like you belong.
Right,
It looks
exactly.
Like
it looks like you actually care about the audition, and it's crazy because like for the past, I think I've booked more and more. I've had more and more big auditions the past 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And like I always see like who booked it at the end of the day. Like there's so many productions out there. Like I auditioned for Milan. I auditioned for Crazy Rich Asians. I auditioned for all these things that I was like, now I see what they wanted, and I'm like, damn, like could have been me. But I know it's like, no, I'm happy for whoever booked it. It's just like you kind of have to get out of that mentality of like, could have been me. Like no.
Do you end up watching those movies and you're like,
yeah, or
I could have done
it's
better?
either commercials or movies, TV shows. It's like, no, you know what? Like, I'm happy there is more representation. I'm happy there's more opportunity, and it sucks that to feel like I'm not really technically still doing what I wanted to do, but like you can't give a Pope. You can't lose that, despite parental pressure and all of that, right? Like,
well, so you actually listed 2 movies, Mulan, Crazy Rich Asians.
yeah.
They are like an Asian cast, pretty much.
Yeah.
Are those the type of roles you're getting put up for? Are those the type of roles you want to be put up for?
Yeah.
Both. I mean, it's hard because I don't technically. I have an agent, but I don't really like him.
That sounds like a big problem.
Yeah. So there's a huge catch-22 in this industry, right? Like if you don't have an agent, you don't have a lot of work experience. If you don't have a lot of work experience, it's hard to get a good agent. So like, where are you supposed to get your foot in the door? Either you come from an acting family, or someone knows that you're Kevin Bacon's daughter, or you just really kind of have to be lucky. Like honestly, I like my manager. He's great. He manages a lot of Asian actors. His company is literally called Asian Cinema Entertainment. And yeah, it makes sense. Ace. And I got him honestly through Instagram. Just like he saw who I was. He knew that I was doing a lot of commercials and through my modeling agencies. But like, I mean, he got my current agent, but it's just, I don't know, it's a weird thing. Yeah. And so sometimes he sends me these auditions that he thinks like, because technically managers aren't supposed to send you auditions. They're just supposed to manage your life and manage your like negotiations and all that. And agents are the ones who send you out. But like he sometimes still like sends me through the back door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
But yeah, no, it is nice. I think in my past 10 years since graduation, 8 years.
Yeah,
You're feeling old now?
I mean, I feel like I started doing it since I was 20,
Yeah.
sophomore, junior year. In the past 10 years, I've seen a huge change in the industry, right? Like, I think, again, like, we weren't even officers back then, you know? Or I've definitely done a lot of just what you think is Asian, stereotypical Asian roles. Right, doctors, lawyers, paralegals, really.
We got cab drivers.
Right, exactly, right. And so it's kind of funny to see more and more like main characters, or at least side main characters. You know, the best friend, and they're definitely more nuanced. But there's still a lot of change that needs to be done. You know, I think a lot of Mandarin and Cantonese is still really wrong when you watch these big blockbuster movies. Actually, Everything Everywhere All at Once was the first movie that I felt like I was represented, because they were speaking Cantonese and Mandarin at the same time, and it was actually well done. And I had a friend who recently, she was like, oh, I don't know, I didn't like that they had Cantonese, like just pick one, like either Cantonese or Mandarin. And I was like, actually, I like that they had both, because I think there are a lot of Asian people out there, like Singaporeans, Malaysians, who do speak both, and sometimes they don't feel represented, and I love that they had that.
Yeah, they chose the nuance,
Right,
like
exactly.
the difficult nuances.
It's because Cantonese is so difficult.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really learn Cantonese. You have to just have grown up in a place that speaks Cantonese to really like absorb it. And so that was one of the first movies I was like, oh, like other than my childhood movies growing up watching in China, like this is the first time I've seen something in Hollywood that I feel seen and that I'm actually like represented.
Right.
Which is crazy that in 2022
Took like that.
it took that long, and so it is a very hopeful time. I think if I had started pursuing this, if I was even just 10 years older, I would have probably given up.
Right. But now you're seeing a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll hold on. And my dad always used to say, like, oh, like, I think you already missed the opportunity to be a child star. You yeah, I know.
No pressure.
Yeah. He's like, I think you'll find success in your 30s. Like, that's usually for Asian men. That's kind of like where the sweet spot in terms of like characters. I was like, okay. I mean, I am turning 30 this year, so good for me.
Basically,
right?
you haven't peaked yet, which
right,
is good.
Right.
I feel like all child stars end up as like kind of fucked up.
Yeah. It's probably better.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Like more well-rounded.
Yeah.
It's human.
Like they don't get to finish high school, college, like what we take for granted as like common knowledge and education. Like they don't get that.
Have you worked with child stars or like former child celebrity, like either in modeling or
I know
acting?
a couple.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend from college who she was pretty big as a young child star. She's doing fine. I think it's just difficult. Like you kind of have to balance like school and the attention
People
and like
taking photos of you on the way to
can you
class and
imagine
stuff.
like feeling like you made it as a kid and then knowing that you might have peaked and then you seeing your fame decline?
Yeah.
We can't even handle normal like middle school politics. How can you handle like adult shit?
And just like wanting to be alone. Like, I remember it was like Miranda Cosgrove came to USC for a year or two, and it was just like I kind of felt bad.
Yeah.
Just,
everyone was just like, oh, Miranda. It was like,
you can't even eat lunch without.
leave her alone.
Like Hermione
Leave Miranda
Granger.
alone.
Oh yeah, when she
Emma
went to
Watson.
like Brown, right?
Yeah.
Emma Watson went to Brown, and like they kept saying 15 points
Spells
for
or-
Gryffindor
yeah.
in the middle of class.
So
I would hate that so
I
much.
hate that. No.
So you don't want to be famous.
So, it's funny you say that because like I don't know if I like A-list fame. Like I don't know if I want to be famous. I just want to be successful and like be proud of the work that I do. But I mean, I'm literally pursuing a career where the success literally is very highly correlated with fame.
Yeah.
Like I think that hyper scrutiny, especially now with social media, is just not healthy. It's like it's not what we should do and love and have.
Yeah.
But you know, people make millions off of it, and I guess it has to come hand in hand. Like you know, you have your soaps, you have your soap stars, you have your TV show. Like people, the folks in CSI who are very successful,
Yeah.
and people don't really know who they
Reruns
are.
all day, every day.
Like, I'm okay being B or C list. I just don't know if I want A-list fame.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want
The Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yeah,
Brad Pitt type
yeah.
of people.
I don't
Yeah.
want where you kind of just get wrapped up in this whole life and lawsuits and
Yeah.
sorry.
So you're okay. This social media thing is like so. I'm so curious about it because there's like multiple aspects, right? Like what you said, where I'm sure if you're trying to get discovered on social media too, like you have to have this persona that's not your personal life. But then also like, what's your take on like Instagram models and like how does that interact with real like what you do? Like,
It's funny.
real gig modeling.
Like when Instagram started, I think it was honestly right around freshman year.
Yeah.
Of college, and I remember it was the brown logo and very just a few filters, right? And everyone was just posting like cool daily things. I remember there was this one photo I posted with like my shoe and like a coffee. Great, easy, whatever. And then it became really complicated. And then it became really complicated. And I think like, had I known that people were gonna put this much emphasis on it in like around the beginning of my career, I might have given it a little bit more effort.
Yeah.
I think it sucks because now I feel like I put in a little effort just because I know that I have definitely booked photo shoots where the client was like, where I see that they had printed a photo of mine from Instagram.
Wow.
And they were like, yeah, we went through Instagram and we really liked it. And yeah, I also have my website on my Instagram, so like they can click through and again, that's another way of having a portfolio of your photos and everything you've done. So I know that I have to kind of keep my Instagram, what's the word? Palatable?
Yeah.
Like
Or-
just
or
like
s-
polished and
Yeah.
professional.
It's almost like your
Which
resume.
sucks because it's like, have I posted anything from LIB or
Right.
or my personal life or Glastonbury? Like, it's no.
So it's a completely different person.
Yeah,
basically, that you
yeah,
created.
and it sucks because like, it sucks in a way because we all know it's just a filtered, packaged way of your life, but so it's funny because I feel like a lot of people come up to me, you know, your loose friends, like, oh, dude, you look like you're doing so well from modeling, and I was like, I mean, I look like I do, but literally still struggling with. I still have to have a day job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm truly until last year or 2 years ago, like I was living paycheck to paycheck,
Right.
and like I didn't have the financial stability, and it might seem that, and yeah, I had booked really big photo shoots,
Right.
but like that was once every 2-3 months, and that's not enough to keep you alive.
Yeah.
And in terms of influencers.
Yes, tell us.
It's funny because like I think in the beginning you see a lot of influencers like booking jobs where like I think they booked more campaigns because they do want the clout, right?
Sure.
Clients always want the following, but the meat and potatoes of my career in modeling has been mostly e-com, which is like catalog and stuff, and that's actual hard work. Like for example, like Abercrombie, I was their like Asian guy. I was their like go-to Asian guy for like 3 years.
We value diversity.
Yeah, quite literally. And like they fly you there. Yeah, you get paid for the day they fly. Blah, blah, blah. But like each day, it's 40 to 45 outfits within 7 hours. And so if you do the math, like it's actually a lot of changing, and it's not just like one outfit. It's like a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Right? They want close-ups. You have to pin everything. Like anything you see online is not the way it fits. Everything's
Right.
pinned and then photoshopped. And so you have to do at least ballpark like 30 pictures per outfit, and that's hard work. And influencers would not be able to do that. Like they don't have the patience. They don't have, frankly, like the experience to do that. Right? And I do. And I do. And so, like, at least I feel like my career in that way hasn't really been impacted.
Sure. It's not like a threat.
Yeah, but I definitely remember, like, in the beginning, castings definitely didn't ask you for your Instagram handle. It only started, I want to say around 2015.
Wow.
Like onwards.
Huh.
And they started asking for your handle. Sometimes they would ask you for your follower count, which is like,
Oh, so it's getting like a little more like
like-
superficial.
right,
Fine,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like how many, 11K. I'm like, no, only then like 2,000 followers. But to me, I was like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I personally know 2,000 something people. Like it's
Yeah, because
Not
it's also
normal.
weird 'cause it's like designed for your friends, and then
Right.
it becomes like this
Right.
larger. Like you don't know any of the people.
exactly. Like how many followers do you have, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think in that regard, it's been really nice to kind of like know that my modeling career hasn't been fully impacted.
Sure.
But in terms of like campaigns and like actual, I shouldn't say actual, like campaigns and commercials and stuff, like yeah, like I definitely have lost things to people who have more followers.
Yeah.
And I think that actually that affects acting more. Like with acting, you probably have to start booking smaller roles first, and a lot of times they want actors who have more followers, and it makes sense. It just kind of sucks.
So I'm actually curious, like life as a model, like how did you get into that? You're doing like the professional shoots. Like what is that process of even trying to find it? Like these shoots and the audition process, and like what are you developing yourself?
I
Like
want to know. I want
yeah,
to know.
I'm just, like
So nobody has yet asked me to be a model, so
yet.
yet was a really
never
important
yet.
word. Yeah. It is Hot Boy Summer, so we're turning it up a little bit, but you know.
Tonight at your party.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask everyone at the party,
Discover.
can I be a model?
Campaigns that you'd like to be on.
I think I was always really interested in fashion when I was in high school, especially I grew up in Shanghai, Hong Kong and Shanghai. So like, I had more of an, the internet was your way of kind of accessing Western culture in China. And once I got to college, because I was on a visa, the F1 visa, and I knew for me, I had 1 year after the F1 to find something that could get me a different kind of visa, right? And so it was just this whole thing you have to kind of maneuver around. And I knew that with acting, like even if I book something small, it's not going to get me a visa.
Yeah.
And with modeling, like it's almost like a cheat, because like with modeling, if you have enough, like quote unquote work, and we used to call them tear sheets, aka for like. Which I think that term derives from like if you tear a picture off of a magazine, like that's an image, that's a tear sheet, and so you have to have a certain, it's like quantifiable amount of work to show that you are a working model, so you can apply for the O1 visa, blah blah. So I knew that was kind of my shortcut to getting a visa to stay, and so summer after sophomore year, I want to say, after I pledged our fraternity.
Frat bro.
Yeah, right. After being tortured for just kidding, nothing happened. I like went to Canada because I'm Canadian, and I spent a summer in Toronto. So the beginning of that summer, I knew that I had to have some photos, so I had like a photographer friend like take some photos of me. I like practice modeling or whatever, and then you just go to different agencies and like go to their open calls and try to get placed.
What is it? Sorry to cut you off, but like, what does it look like practicing modeling?
Yeah, what's your best look?
I mean, I think when you're a teenager,
Signature look.
when you're a gay teenager in China, like there's a certain amount of vanity. So you practice in the mirror in the beginning, and then you practice with. I mean, it was definitely not that good in the beginning. Definitely had to pick through the pictures. And I think even my first few shoots were really awkward, but then you slowly learn how to, like, what your better angle is. It's funny, because, like, what you see in the mirror is different from what other people see, right? Yeah. And everything is mirrored, and what, I mean, it's all these things that you think are whatever about yourself, people don't notice it, and vice versa. And so you kind of learn what people like and what people didn't like. But when I first went to Canada that summer, I actually went to Montreal because I thought, I want to practice my French. And there was this one agency that I thought maybe I could like go to them, and they literally told me, "Oh, we already have your look." And I was like, "I looked at your website. You had 2 Asian guys." So it's really shitty then to like feel to be rejected, even though I knew that they only had 2 Asian guys because they already quote unquote had my look.
Like hit quota.
Which is so dumb. But then I went to my sister was like, "Why don't you just like apply to different agencies in Canada and see what happens?" And then Elite in Toronto were like, "Hey, like we saw your pictures. Do you want to like swing by Toronto?" And then I went there. They signed me. It was like one of the best days of my life.
Wow.
And then that's kind of where it all started. And one of the best things that we call them our mother agent if it's your like main agency. Mm-hmm. My mother agent told me, Stacy, lovely woman. She was like, "I just want to make sure that like you have other things going on. Like I think a lot of young kids like think that this is their end all be all, that they're gonna blow up, and no, like this is really honestly a side career, and I hope that you have other passions and that you have other jobs going on for you." Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. No, I didn't. I really didn't.
Because you're like, I'm gonna be
right. Yeah, exactly.
Modeling life.
Everyone thinks they're the exception to the rule, right?
Yeah.
And I started doing catering in LA. I started doing all these other things just to like supplement income, but also needed my dad's help financially for many years. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I got my foot in the door because I knew that I had to get the visa. I knew that I had to do all these things to kind of stay here where all my friends are. Yeah. Like I didn't want to move back to Canada or China because none of my friends are there. And culturally, I already felt like I didn't belong in China, Hong Kong, or Shanghai. And so I knew that I wanted to be in the U.S. where my friends are.
So sweet. Yeah. Well, so do you like it? Like now that you're like seriously, because like for me personally, like I think it would be really stressful, like considering my image and like how I'm being like perceived by everybody. Like once you got into it, you started doing it more regularly, like, and obviously you wanted to split off into acting, singing, like a bit more. Like, what do you like about it, and what don't you like about it?
It's so funny. I don't think anyone's ever asked me if I liked it. Yes, I do like it now. I think in the beginning you are so concerned about like how you look, or like sometimes the clients pick pictures that like you don't necessarily think looks good, but like you kind of have to post on Instagram, whatever. Now I'm like, it doesn't matter what they pick or not. Like, I booked the job. They're paying me. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, it is, I mean, you're a freelancer, like this is a job. Yeah. And so I think most models only have careers of like 4 to 5 years. And I've had this for 8 years now. And I think I work really hard. I'm very professional. I make sure I have good vibes. I make sure I'm like networking with everyone and like staying in touch. And I've definitely booked a lot of recurring jobs because of it. I think I like it now because I know I'm good at it. Yeah. And that I don't put so much weight on it.
You can just walk in.
Right. You walk in, you get it done, and whatever. Whereas I think the self-doubt when it comes to like singing or acting, like when you care about something so much, it almost takes away the fun of it. You're so tense. You're so like you
it's
want
not fun anymore.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think throughout the years, because maybe my acting career hasn't taken off the way I wanted it to, etc. Like it's kind of been less fun because I want it so badly. I want to book something so badly, and yet I haven't, and it has become less fun, which is kind of sad. But modeling, I'm like, yeah, like, book me or not. Like, I couldn't care less, but like, sure. And I think in that regard, I do like it a lot. It probably, it's like similar to my corporate job. It's like, do I really care about my corporate job? Do I care about bankers? No. But like, when you get something done, when your boss or when the client says like, fantastic work. Yeah. You're like, fuck yeah, thank you. Like, I know, I worked really hard on it. But do I care about it in terms of my, like, does it affect my personality? No. Like, maybe for modeling a little bit with, like, my image and all of that. But, like, that's probably the most fun for me.
Yeah.
That's really cool because like so you've gotten to a point where like you can get the validation through like executing on something you can do, right?
Yeah.
Like it's in your back pocket. And like I think one of the things that feels really hard to me about what you do is like you're going to these auditions, like you have to go be your best in front of strangers, and 90% of the time they tell you like fuck off.
Yeah.
So how do you manage like rejection? It's like I don't know. I worked in sales. I get rejected a lot. Like it's not easy.
It's not easy. I think you just have to kind of think about it you kind of have to turn on the emotions, right? It's at the end. It does feel more personal because it's your face. Because it's literally rejecting your face.
Yeah.
And I think with acting, if they say no, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I did a wrong acting choice. Maybe I didn't understand the scene, whatever. But with modeling, it's quite literally your face. And you just have to remember it's business. It's work. It's never really personal. Whatever diverse agenda they have, like, or quota they're trying to fill, that's on their end. Like, what are you gonna do? You can go get plastic surgery, but like that's dumb. Like,
does that happen for models though? Because like you were saying, people will judge you. Like, we like this look about you, and like so. If I went into modeling and they're like, we don't like your nose, like, do you see like people compelled to be like, well, I got to go change that because this one person?
I think that's where it definitely can be toxic. I think there are definitely a lot of models who are hyper aware of their physical appearance, and maybe I'm just down to earth. But I think like this is like take it or leave it. No, I think there are a lot of people who do get fucked by that kind of mentality, and I think in the beginning as well, like it definitely made me very self-conscious in terms of how fit I was, or in terms of whatever, or my haircut, or like, oh, I can't get any tattoos, which I don't have any. But now it's like, at this age, I think we're kind of past the age of like being that vain, of really caring about that.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't make you feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Whenever people are like, Gabe, how do you stay so fit? I'm like, one, gay culture kind of is a little bit it's just toxic, right? You just are expected to be fit.
Yeah.
But two, also, like, I stay fit for my own mental health.
Yeah.
But three, I have to stay fit for this job. If I want to have a career in modeling, if I want to stay in the country with this visa, like, I kind of have to be fit to a certain point.
Yeah.
I don't really book any of the, like, underwear, like, super naked ads. Well, a couple. But, like, I don't really have to be, like, super, super fit. I'm not, like, a fitness model. I'm a kind of a model.
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm pretty lucky in that regard.
Yeah. What are the types of models? So there's catalog model,
there's
underwear
catalog
model.
modeling. There's, campaigns are kind of everyone, right? Like, I'll get into it later. There's runway modeling, which I was told that I'm not tall enough for it anymore.
Wow.
I'm 6'1",
That's not tall enough?
they changed the quote unquote new minimum to 6'2", pretty much.
Who is
The industry at large.
wow.
And I think that's like low-key racist because my people are not that tall. I'm very tall for a Chinese person.
Yeah, your percentile
Yes.
is like much.
And like, we all know that Asian people on average are shorter than your Norwegian or Dutch person. And so it's just kind of strange to see that happening. But also, I think runway is just not, for me, is not fun. Runway is kind of where people network and meet other models, meet other designers and producers and all that. Like, but for me, I'm like, you sit around for 12 hours just to walk for 30 seconds in some outfit and everyone's super tense and there's always something else going wrong. I personally don't like it. Yeah. But that is kind of where the spotlights are.
You're like supermodels.
Yeah. And like, that's not for me. Like, I think it's fun. I've done it. But personally, like, I find more joy in having a day shoot with people with an artistic direction, and you kind of have more fun doing it. And then when you see the product, you're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Whereas like runway is like, you're really not really part of the process. You really are just a walking hanger.
Yeah.
And that's not fun, personally.
It always looks pretty like stuffy.
Yeah, it is stuffy. That really is it, right?
And you see these cool like beach photo shoots. I'm like, that looks really fun.
Yeah.
Everyone's like cheering you on. We had one of our guests from last season, Serafina, who's an astrophysicist, got booked for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot this year, and it was cool to see her being like, this was so fucking fun. Like people just like cheering you on and like validating.
And you are some shoots, some campaigns, like you are kind of pampered, right?
Sure.
Like I did a shoot for Samsung a month ago in LA, and I literally only had one shot with one outfit, and I was there for the whole day, and like it was a beautiful location. There's food everywhere. Like it was just really nice, and you are pampered, and I'm being paid to be at a nice house, holding like my shot was holding a puppy and the phone in one hand, just like lounging on a couch in like cashmere PJs. Absolutely, yeah. It's like
great.
what? And then only to go back to my corporate job the next day. Like, so it's kind of like a funny. I don't know, like. My careers have been kind of interwoven in a really fun way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it's so interesting.
I think before I had my corporate job, I was, I lived in LA. I was between LA and Toronto. I wasn't doing much. I was just waiting for maybe it's because I was a pothead. I mean, I still am, but like I'm a much more productive pothead. Like back then, I feel like. I wasn't doing anything. You were just waiting for the next thing, and you kind of idle in life, and there's nothing worse than that. Whereas, and I almost like was buying into the idea that I was just like a dumb model, and I was like, I literally I have 2 degrees from USC. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I can do better than this. And I think once I started employing my brain and using that, and actually, I think being financially stable helps with that headspace as well. Like now I think I was kind of at the verge of being depressed then. Maybe I was depressed, who knows? Right. Now I'm really, honestly, like really happy with my life because I work really hard and I make good money and and like it's sometimes I feel crazy having to juggle all these things, but like the hard work pays off and like you can actually afford to do things.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, what advice would you give someone who's trying to be a model?
No. I would say, like, take care of your mental health first.
Yeah.
That's probably the most important thing. I didn't have a therapist until a year ago, and it's changed my life, I think. And I think I've always been a very self-aware person. I have all these philosophical conversations with my friends, and, like, that's always helped. But I think a lot of people don't take care of that, and you can really like trip and fall into a really bad place in your life, because there is a lot of toxicity in modeling, in fashion, and beauty. Like it is shallow at the end of the day. It's very shallow, and you just have to remember it's not that deep. It's not personal. Yeah. And even when it is personal, like shake it off. Like it might be personal to them, but it really is how you react to it. Yeah. And like, I don't know, like, try harder.
Are there like specific tips, like if I was trying to start my modeling career, like networking or things that I should try and do to like get my foot in the door?
I think if you don't have an agent, like how I did it was I went to models.com. Whoa. Very niche. And then there are a list of agencies for each big city that show that what open calls they have, so you can go in and see them.
So you have to audition for your agent.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh wow.
Or they have submissions online where you just upload files and then they will reach out to you. And that's how I got my agent. Gotcha. I sent them photos of myself and then they liked it, I guess. I think there are a lot of people who really care about fashion. Like, I think I kind of stopped because I think I'm more of a musical theater nerd than I am a fashion nerd, and so like that's just kind of what I like. So I don't really like. I'm in sports wear right now. Like I'm not a fashion person, but I'm in fashion. So like and so I think it's really just, yeah, like, be nice. There are a lot of mean people out there in whatever industry, but like,
Yeah.
especially in this industry because it's kind of more shallow. Like, you know that you have to kind of just be careful.
Yeah.
And I think my mom especially was very worried that I would be led astray in entertainment or in fashion.
Yeah.
And, hold on to those morals, those lines that you don't want to be crossed, because there are definitely opportunities where I could have, poured myself out. And I didn't. And I didn't. Okay, I do not have a sugar daddy.
Looks right there.
Right.
I do not.
have a sugar daddy. I am my own sugar daddy.
So that's cool. So like, we have Broadway as an option, like landing those big acting. You're hitting your peak in your 30s. It's coming up, right?
It's coming, baby.
What is next for you? What's the roadmap?
I think logistically, it really depends if I get my visa or I could get my green card, which I think I will. Like, I've booked enough big gigs in the past three years to kind of warrant that, I think. I'm hoping I book more acting gigs. Maybe more than just being a police officer. Please.
It's a leading man.
Yeah.
We're ready for it.
I don't even need to be the leading man. Like, it's funny because people always ask me, like, oh, what's your, like, acting goal or whatever. Like, I want to be in a TV show because I think TV shows you have more time to kind of, like, play with the character. You learn, you kind of, it's like, what do the writers and the directors want, but also what do you put into that character? I want to be in a sitcom, kind of like a Will and Grace or Friends or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be so fun. It'd be so fun. We're hacks,
Yeah.
One of my friends from high school, Christina, or Poppy Leo, they just booked all these things, and and I'm really happy for them. Wow. And I think that will happen to me too.
Yeah.
It will. Yeah. This podcast is gonna help you blow
All right,
up.
it better. No,
You're with us too.
we'll just keep listening to it over and over again. And I mean, I think ideally I can be busy enough with my art where I don't have to keep doing this corporate job. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just like that's not what I wanted to do, and technically I'm legally only allowed to do legally I have to fully do modeling and acting, and because I have the paperwork, like I can still do this corporate job, but like ideally I wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This would be the full time supporting. Yeah. I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
I mean, I had fun. There was like 2 years when I first moved here where you were on my commute every day. I was on the R train. You were the apartment deco model. I was like, that's my friend.
It's funny because like I have all these like small little victories that you don't like. It's easy to kind of shrug them off when you like you just randomly book things. Like if I told my teenage self that I was on an Abercrombie cologne ad, I would have been like, shut the fuck up. No.
Yeah.
But now to me, I was like, oh yeah, I did that job and it's pretty cool. Like, all right, I did a Gillette ad. Like, I have a Hawaiian Tropic sunscreen coming out. Like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But to me, I was like, oh, it was just one day out of 365 last year, right?
Sure.
Like, it was whatever. And so it's kind of nice to kind of, or like being on the subway in New York. Like, never thought that would happen to me, right? But to me, like until you really see it and then really kind of let that set in, you're like, oh yeah, like I have done a lot in my career.
Right.
Yeah. Do you look at yourself on the subway and you're like, I look good?
Do you ever stand next to it and wait for people to notice?
I have done that. I have stood on like that. And not a single person has noticed. And I'm like, y'all racist, huh? Y'all think no. It's funny because it's just another job at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm a Kardashian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reality show coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a prep routine when you get an audition or a model shoot, like to get yourself like psyched up and ready?
Well, for modeling, like, depends on like what the. Like if it's a photo shoot that a job I actually booked, I always shower in the morning. They always say like come with no makeup, I'm like, or like come with nothing in your hair. But I'm like, you don't know. Like my hair looks horrible. There's no product in it. So I put a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes if it's like a filming thing, I'll put a little. I just make my brows a little darker because like it kind of disappears in the light. I don't do a lot, honestly.
You don't have a playlist going where you're like,
The Rocky soundtrack.
I just make sure I'm not smoking weed before it. So like you don't want to be like going to these things high. Definitely like fucks with your head.
yeah.
'Cause I've definitely done that in my lowest points, and like yeah, it fucks with your head. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing self-tape auditions when you're high as fuck, right?
Fair.
Like,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to analyze your character in the scene when you're just high?
Unless you're auditioning for like a Seth Rogen movie or something.
Right, true. Yeah, I mean, I aim to go to the gym every day, so that when I do miss it, I'm like, oh, rest day.
Nice.
And that's kind of my, like, your routine is your every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's funny because I realize now, as I'm turning 30, I'm actually a very neat and tidy and type A kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I always thought, oh God, I'm so messy. No, I mean, maybe that's just in my head, but
Yeah.
I'm actually very tidy.
Yeah, I'm into your
I
apartment.
have my
Your
shit
apartment's, like,
together.
on point.
Yeah. and now I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that is why I have my shit together, because like I've always just been able to whip myself into shape.
Yeah.
Like I've never been one to kind of just like, that's the thing, at the peak of my potheadness, that's when all of that goes out the door.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, oh, I don't have my shit together, but like, I think it's just about routine and like discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
This is fun. I feel like I'm ready. You ready to be a model?
I don't know. I don't know if I could deal with rejection.
I think we should try it. We should send our audition tapes from the podcast.
I'm down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is going out in the ether in the world. You guys might not be models, but you might be influencers, people who steal jobs away from little folks.
We're
like
coming
me.
for you.
Do we need signature looks?
Just a little makeup can do wonders.
Whoa. Wait, can we see what is your signature look? Oh, Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd have to pay you for that. Professional shoot.
No, but speaking of influencers, I have a friend, Alex Wong. I hope he doesn't mind me shouting out. He is killing it.
Yeah.
Like his influencer game is killing it. And even the Samsung shit I was telling you guys about, like he had done something similar for them, like months before I booked his actual shoot, and like he got paid so much more than I did.
Yeah.
To post like 5 things, right? Sorry, Alex, I hope I'm not calling you out.
Just 5 things. That's it.
Yeah. But I mean, 5 posts for an influencer who's like very
Yeah.
successful.
I guess
like, that's a lot.
That's a lot of
you
reach.
know?
It's like millions.
For us, we're like, whatever, I'll post 5 photos.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah, but for
Like,
them, it's like if it dilutes their brand, like you have to
Yeah.
think about all of that. And honestly, I don't know if I want that to be something I worry about.
so you're a
in my
full-time
life.
marketing employee at that
Yeah.
point, yeah. Interesting.
Like that's a lot. That's a lot. I don't know if I want to be an influencer. Again, like this
Yeah.
fame thing is not really what I'm vying for. I just want success and money.
I get excited if I can get 100 likes on Instagram.
You get 100?
It's rare. It's like super rare.
Travis is like, wait, what?
Should I buy followers?
I mean, people do it all the time. And they still do.
Just to get to 100.
Fucking Elon Musk bought like 40 million.
Yeah, dude, I have a friend who
They
literally
bought
just
Twitter.
I have a friend who just went from 800 to 20K because he bought them, and like I'm surprised that Instagram isn't like kind of tracking those and deleting. But like, if you want the fake clout,
Yeah.
if it works for you, and like maybe it does gain traction for some people.
Right.
Maybe you never know.
Playing the game.
But I'm just so authentic that like I want people to know that my followers are real.
Organic.
Which is funny because a lot of them are
I don't
honestly,
have a sugar daddy.
Right.
But I'm very authentic.
a lot of them are bots if you think about it. Like there's
Yeah.
some all these random things
Yeah,
that follow.
for sure.
You're like 0 followers, 0 posts. Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
But whatever, it's still organic, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is cool, man. I appreciate you coming on. This is
Yeah,
really fun.
thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I love talking about my careers. I feel like if you caught me 5 years ago, I'd be like, oh, I don't know what to talk about. There's nothing. Now I'm like, oh yeah, no, there is a lot I can talk about that I feel like I can share to other people, and I'm looking out for all the gay Asian immigrants out there, being a triple minority is not easy, but
Triple threat.
you know, triple threat to the system, to the patriarchy. Yeah, thanks for having me.